Welcome to Changing the Game, where bold leaders, rule breakers, and trailblazers drop the playbook and share how they lead, win, and shake things up. All right, welcome back to Changing the Game. Today I am joined by Tejcek. Riley has an incredible list of accomplishments. She's a U.S. Marine Corps captain and a Team USA bobsled pilot. She was crowned Miss Military in 2024, named the Female Marine Athlete of the Year in 2021, and before all that, she was a Division I softball player. On top of her athletic and military achievements, Riley is also a published author and an ambassador, using her platform to inspire the next generation to dream big and chase their goals with resilience and purpose. Riley truly embodies what it means to break barriers, lead with courage, and to empower others. And I'm so excited to welcome her to the show. Thanks for joining us, Riley.
Wow, Jordan, thank you. That was one of my favorite introductions I've ever had. I'm like, who is she? That's amazing.
Woo!
Thank you.
Yes, of course, I had to do it justice because it's truly a long list of accomplishments, long, amazing journey that I can't wait to cover for our audience today because it's so non-linear, which I think is really, really cool because so many people think you have to have it all figured out right away and you have to stay on this one path throughout your entire life. And I that couldn't be further from the truth for me. So you truly embody that. And so I'm really excited to cover that today.
Oh yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. So
yeah,
that's secret. I'm still trying to figure it out.
We all are, right? Like we're all trying to figure it out. So excited for you to share the journey with us. And if you could kick us off. So you were a Division I softball player at George Washington University, and that's not even where the journey starts. But I just want to know, okay, D1 athlete, and then you went into the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. How did that happen?
The simple phrase is just God did. But pulling that back a little bit, I never thought I wanted to be in the military. I didn't really have a family that was rooted in that by any means. And it definitely wasn't something I ever thought I could go into because I never saw it. I never, as a young girl, saw women in service. And growing up in Indiana, there was no active military basis for any of the branches. So, of course, I didn't see it because that wasn't around me. So I didn't think it was feasible nor possible. I knew when I accepted my scholarship when I was about 15 that I wanted to be involved with the government to some capacity because I was going to DC. Like naturally, I was like, okay, I have to do something. And I think my brain was like, I'm going to be an FBI, CIA agent because as any 17, 18-year-old, like, doesn't that seem cool? Later on, come to find out, I met a Marine recruiter, by accident, coincidentally. I know that the Lord placed him there. And once him and I just started talking about the transition from what I call collegiate athlete to tactical athlete, it just made sense for me. I think a lot of athletes have competed their whole life. They love being on a team. They love being challenged, and they love leading and being a part of groups of people and finding a way to be successful. And that's exactly what the military gives you, especially the Marines, because they are the top team, if you will, of all branches and services. It demands so much of you. So it just made sense. And honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made and made the transition from being a college athlete into the military really smooth and easy, where I didn't really feel like I skipped a beat at all.
I didn't even know that was something that was possible. I'm a former Division I athlete myself, had no idea that you could do both unless you were at like an academy of some kind.
Right. Or ROTC. And I was not ROTC either. Yeah.
Yes. So you could make that transition. And I think, okay, that's really cool. You just also described it as being a tactical athlete. Mm-hmm. You described the similarities. What does tactical athlete really mean to you? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So as a tactical athlete, the way I see it is I have to be able to shoot, move, and be in the top physical fitness shape for deployment or for any adversity that would come my way being an active duty military member. So we, as Marines, shoot once a year, rifle and pistol. So you're spending 2 to 4 weeks a year shooting and being good at your craft, right? And so that is very tactical in that. But then you also have the athlete component where you have physical fitness tests that you're expected to do. You have morning physical fitness training, just like any other athletes. You need to be able to ruck, which means you need to be able to put a lot of weight on your back and go distances. You need to be able to run. You need to be able to do pull-ups. All of these events you're getting tested on. And then in a real combat scenario, but what we have in our combat fitness test is you need to be able to pick up that buddy if they get shot or in harm's way, whether through fireman carries or buddy drags, and we actually get tested on those events. So a tactical athlete in the sense of you're having to use gear and equipment that's around you to be used in real life situations of simulating combat and or simulating what it means to be the highest level of athlete to hold the line when you're protecting the rest of our nation.
That makes a lot of sense, and like huge responsibility, obviously. Do you feel like you had an identity shift from that collegiate athlete then to the military, or were you just like, hey, I'm another type of athlete now?
A little bit of both. One, I never felt like I stopped being an athlete because just like an athlete, you have workouts and you have standards and things that you have to hit. I guess the only difference is there is no game day, right? Compared to
Right.
that. But at the same time, we did, because through our trainings, we would have the obstacle course and you had to pass the obstacle course and hit certain times. When we have our physical fitness test, you have to hit these things or you fail and you get processed out. So in a way it's just you're not necessarily maybe competing against a different team or opponent. You're kind of competing against yourself, which there are sports like that where you are doing that. I came from a team sport. So that's why there was a slight identity shift. But overall, I just honestly, as silly as it sounds, I felt more like a boss lady in the military.
Yeah.
I felt because I was more dynamic. Like, yes, I was a softball player and that was really great. But now I'm showcasing what it means to like be the ultimate level of athlete where you have to be able to do everything and have skill and not just skill to win or lose a game, skill to save potentially people's lives. And when you look at it in that lens, I think it does shift. You have to have a mental shift of, hey, my training isn't just for me to be the best version of myself or my team to win. My training could possibly be the difference of life and death. And I need to be as physically equipped because my body is my weapon. And I need to be able to bring as many people home if I'm put in that situation.
That Riley, that's so cool. Just hearing the similarities, the difference in mindset and just like physical abilities. Really cool. Where did this desire to be in the Marines come from? I mean, did you have people in your family that were in the military? You grew up an athlete, obviously, but where did this desire to go into the Marines come from?
It came from the conversation when I was talking with that recruiter.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes so many of us, you just don't know what you don't know. And you just said, you're like, I had no idea this existed. Full circle, my job is recruiting now, where I'm going to these athletic departments and these universities and telling their athletes, hey, here's a really good program we have. Here's why I think you're the best fit for us, not all of you, some of you, and why I think vice versa. I think it wasn't really until I started hearing what the military had to offer. I had a misconception of the military that if I were to join, I would be going to the Middle East, I would be kicking down doors, I would be in harm's way. And that wasn't something that I think a lot of people want to do. It's unattractive. Then once you start pulling the onion back a little bit and someone's like, well, actually, as a Christian, you're living a servant leader life and you're serving not only your people, but you're doing what only 1% of people want to do. And then you have the ability to stay physically fit for the rest of your life, where this is an expectation and something that is ingrained in your working schedule. I'm like, okay, tell me more. They're like, and you're going to lead people from all different walks of life. Okay, tell me more. Well, you're also going to be a part of a minority because you're now a female, and only about 9% of officers are women now in the Marine Corps. So now you're also going to be leading and setting an example at a small group of people as a minority. And now you have the ability to travel the world and live in places like I do in San Diego, but also deploy like I have to Iraq and get that experience where you may not be wealthy in money, but I'm rich in experience and purpose and honor and gratitude and relationship. And I've done things at the age of 28 that most people would have never had the chance of doing. And that's all because of the military. And then ultimately, what I didn't realize, but he was saying to me, it gave me all these tools in my toolkit to be able to have discipline, resiliency, grit, communication, where I can use that and apply that in other areas of my life. And I've seen myself be a little bit ahead of my peers, a little bit more successful because of the training that I was given through the military.
Yeah, Riley, there's so much I want to unpack with your story. There's, like you said, it's like an onion. There's so many layers here.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to peel off. You're telling your story, and I'm like, put a pin in that. I got to ask a question about that. So I'm trying to organize it all in my brain, but I want to know. So when you transitioned then to the military as this tactical athlete, it wasn't really an identity shift, but it was in a way. Did you maybe feel like you were starting over a bit in a new arena?
Yes, in a way, because I had never shot a weapon before I went into officer candidate school training.
Right.
I wasn't really familiar with military doctrine or customs and courtesies or any of that stuff. Again, I wasn't around it. So anytime you start over or you go into something new, it's really exciting because there's all these endless opportunities, but you're also starting at the bottom. And
Yeah.
just like anything, you start at the bottom as a brand new second lieutenant who knows nothing. And that teaches you, that gives you a little bit of humble pie.
Yeah.
And I just heard this the other day. The best thing about humble pie is it's free. But with humble pie and with it being free means a whole lot of humility and having to know that there's a lot that you don't know. And you used to be a master at your craft, right? You just came off of being senior and we won A10s and captain and you're well known. And now up here you go back at the bottom and you have to write your story. No one cares what you did prior. People care about what you're doing now and what you're going to continue to do for them. So I think in a way it's awesome. It's intimidating to start over, but that's how you grow. That's how you start making a name for yourself. I joke, but an athlete that I've looked into his story more and more recently has been Tom Brady. And Tom Brady played for Michigan and he wasn't even the starting quarterback at Michigan, right? And people forget that. But they don't care about that because they look at his success with New England and afterwards. It's the same thing in the military, right? You're going to start somewhere. You're going to be a low level draft pick. Like you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to go through it. But it matters what you make of that and how you go forward and the name you make for yourself as you continue to perfect your craft.
Yeah, I think that starting over and having humility can be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of athletes, especially, and even veterans, maybe from like when they're transitioning out of service into the professional
Mm-hmm.
world for the first time. We see a lot of that at Shift Group in my role here. And it's one thing that we're constantly having to tell candidates and athletes and veterans is your background isn't for nothing. It taught you all these amazing skills that you will carry with you to the next world, your next chapter, but it is a little bit of a learning curve and it can be tough to start over. But it's
Yeah,
something that everyone has to go through at some point and it teaches you so much.
exactly.
Yeah. When you were, so you're also Team USA bobsled pilot. So how did that happen? How did you get the courage to try an entirely new sport?
Yeah, courage is the right word there because at the age of 22, 23, I decided to try out for Team USA. It started because I had a contact that I previously knew from the same softball team who is the most decorated Black athlete for Team USA in the Winter Olympics, Alana, who's still competing for bobsled. And I saw her journey and I was fascinated with it. But I thought, surely, I wouldn't have been able to do it while being in the military. And it's those assumptions that really kill. And we say that in the military all the time, assumptions kill. And it's that pin of, oh, well, not yet, but maybe later. And I literally said this. I was like, oh, in another life. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't get another life. I don't get another chance. Like the Lord has blessed me with the life that I live now. And if there's something that's on my heart, why not pursue it? That doesn't mean the answer is always yes. But what I see of failure is never starting. Failure isn't trying something and not being successful at it. So long story short, I essentially saw an opportunity. I said I was going to take it. I try to live my life by Joshua 1:9, which talks about being bold and courageous and not letting fear prevent me. Fear does exist, by the way. It's not ignored. It's just I'm going to keep going anyways. And yeah, within 5 years, I have competed in 2 world championships, won my first gold medal this past January, and have traveled the whole entire world spreading the gospel and playing sport and making friends. And it's been one heck of a ride.
Really, that's so cool. I can hear the passion in your voice on that.
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing story. It's just, hey, I'm going to try. I'm going to try this. I could not agree with that sentiment more. It's like failure is not trying. Like
Yeah.
that is true
Period.
failure. You never know what door something is going to open for you unless you try. And I guess what, if it doesn't work out, then you just learn something about yourself and you can move in a different direction and make another choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And you were the first active duty Marine to qualify, right? For the team.
Yes, I was the first female Marine that's ever made Team USA bobsled, competed in the World Championship for winter sport, which was really awesome. Wanted to be the first female Marine in the Olympics, but I wasn't good enough to make the cut, and that's totally okay. And that's a part of what I try to tell people now too. Your identity is not in what you do. Your identity is in so many other things. And falling short or not getting a certain accolade doesn't mean that you weren't successful. I've recently been reflecting a lot on my career, and sometimes I'm like, gosh, it feels like I failed, right? It feels like, oh, I was so close, I never made it. And then I have other people who are looking from the outside in and are like, Riley, what are you talking about? In 5 years, 2 world championships, you've won gold, you were the best at something. You have won athlete of the year, like all these things that I don't even remember because I'm like, yep, checking the box, checking the box, checking the box. And I think so many of us do that. And I heard someone say this the other day, and I'm like, I'm going to steal that. They're like, give yourself or give someone flowers. Like, obviously not literally, but like, give them kudos. Like, be like, no, dude, like that's freaking sick. Like, what you do is awesome. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, you're like, wow, I'm trying to be the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And there's only going to be one person in the whole world that achieves Olympic gold.
Right.
So put that in perspective that, hey, Riley, your highest ranking was 14th in the whole entire world. Like you were 14th in the whole world at something. Like, how can you not be content with that?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's when I've been just looking back on things and saying, you know what, like give yourself flowers or give someone flowers, and that's where I looked to my teammates. I tried, I gave it truly everything I possibly could, no excuses, and I didn't have it. So let me give flowers to my teammates, like y'all were better than me and you earned it. So go take your flowers, go do it, and know that I'm going to be cheering and standing behind you. Because I know that vice versa, if I would have beat you, I would have hoped you would have had the same response. But
Right.
at the same time, there can only be one. And the world isn't always going to give you what you want. Or just because you worked hard doesn't mean that you're just going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So many lessons in that story. I think as athletes, we definitely struggle with that. Like it's always on to the next thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like you accomplished this, but like you almost diminish it in your mind so that you can refocus on what's next. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time to celebrate the wins. And I think that was one thing when I haven't played my sport in a long time now, so I kind of have moved on to my next chapter, but it's something I had to relearn was like celebrating the little wins because the little wins for me in my athletic career were just like, it's just expected. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
it's expected to win.
You
So
are.
celebrate it.
And you don't take the time that you've spent years. And then you get it and it's like next, next,
Yeah.
next. And the best example of this would be, and I know we'll talk about it probably a little bit later, but I wrote my children's book and it took a year and a half to come out because it got delayed and this, that, and the other. And it's only been out for like 4 months. And people are like, well, when's your next one? And I was like, hold the phone.
Yeah.
Like, sure. But I'm like, this took almost 2 years to come to fruition. Like, I'm going to enjoy this where I am right now because there's so much work that went into this that I want to ride this out before I'm so focused on the next thing. Right now, obviously, I'm thinking that. That doesn't mean that, I'm putting everything off or planning purposes, but I'm like, you got to stop and celebrate and enjoy your flowers, right, before they die. Of the things that you have accomplished because you have worked way too long for it. And I think as athletes, you're right. Next play, next at bat, next game, next this. And then you realize there may not be a whole lot of next. So celebrate them while you can.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. You don't know when you're going to get that next at bat or that next opportunity. And it's so short. Our careers as athletes are so short. So it's like you have to be in the moment when you can. And I think that's just life in general. People are always like, what's next? When are you releasing the children's book? I know Riley, you're engaged. Congratulations. It's like, when are you getting married? And then it's like,
Yeah.
when are you having kids? And when are
Right.
you doing this? It's like,
when are you buying a house?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're just like, can I just be engaged
Yes.
for a little bit and just enjoy that? Can I just be married?
Season.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, I don't want to go too off track here too. I feel that way about fall right now. Like we're in the beginning of September and everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited about Halloween. And then it's going to be talking about Christmas before then. It's driving me crazy. So I just get up. I'm like, can we just enjoy some of the long days we have left?
Yeah, it's fair.
Oh, but that's a great segue into your book. I want to talk about, I have it with me right here. Yes, if you can dream it, be it. You wrote a children's book, which I think is really, really cool. So inspirational because the next generation, that's really That's really who we're mentoring as they come up into the world. So I want to know what inspired you to write a children's book, not just, you could have written about anything. Why a children's book?
And that was key, is I knew I wanted to write a book. Um, but I didn't know what kind or how, right? Do I want it to be Christian and like scripture? Do I want to write like more of a biography? Children's book wasn't something I thought of right away. And then it hit me. I was just thinking and praying and talking out loud. And I had the thought of my story revolves around me never seeing a Marine when I was growing up. And that's a question that literally everyone asks me on all my interviews, on all my things, right? They're just like, did you always want to be a Marine? And I'm like, no. And the answer is
Yeah.
because I never saw one. And then that started like really working through my mind where I'm seeing this next generation. And I'll be completely honest with you, not to create separation or judgment between me and them, but I'm seeing more and more people on TikTok and younger girls wearing less clothing and more makeup and all these kinds of things. And I don't love the trajectory that some of it is going or what's being told to young women. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a source of light and inspiration. And so I'm like, that's it. So the age range of 4 to 8 is where statistically and scientifically backed children are starting to make core memories and their core beliefs. They're starting to obviously realize their environment, realize the things around them, and start having these thought processes that are going to carry weight on how they view themselves through their adult life. And if I can touch them then, the impact that I can have on them for the rest of their life can go on versus trying to teach an old dog new tricks at a later age. Not that it can't be done, but if we can start here, I can actually have a longer impact and touch them while their mind's a little bit more fresh. So that's why I wanted to reach out to children. It obviously centered on the cover of letting a young girl see and young boy see that women do serve in the military and that is possible and feasible for them. But more or less, this getting rid of this limitation of, oh, I have to do this one thing. I have to be this one individual when you can wear multiple hats and you can be dynamic, right? I can wear a dress and win a pageant and be beautiful as a woman, but then I can go and shoot a weapon and live in the woods and put cami paint on in the military, right? I can be an athlete and don't have this dumb jock title and still publish and write a book that requires like intellect and forward processing and my thought process. And so I just wanted to break down those barriers and again hit that with children at an early stage to set them up for the most success and to create the most impact.
Yeah, Riley, I think that makes so much sense. I mean, that's part of the reason why I started this show was because I wanted to show women entering the workforce or just any women out there who have career aspirations to see someone else doing something in the world and they can go, wait, she's doing it. That means I can do it. Because
Exactly.
when we see it, it makes it that much easier to say, wow, she's done it. That means there's a path for me. And every single woman I've had on this show, they all say how important it is to mentor the next generation and to hold the door open for the next generation and say, yes, it is possible. And I want to make it possible for you too. And that is exactly why I started doing this, because you being a female Marine, like, I'm not going to lie, I don't really see any female Marines ever. And talking to you, I'm like, it's possible. You are a former athlete before getting into it. You're a current athlete and you're now inspiring the next generation of girls to do anything that they want to.
Yeah. I mean, I am still fathomed by when I'm doing recruiting events and I'm just in my uniform and people you would think maybe recognize me and some do, right? That know. But I had a woman come up to me, 2 women, and they're like, "Can we get a picture with you?" And again, just assuming maybe they know bobsled, maybe this, and they go, "We never have seen a female in the Marine Corps before." That's why they wanted a photo. And I'm like, it's 2025.
I know. Yeah.
How is that a thing right now? But it still is. And people like yourself, right? So that means like my job's not done. Not that I have to be the only one to do it, but I'm going to open myself up. I'm going to make my life a little bit more vulnerable on social media and get involved and talk and let people know like, hey, no, like this does exist. And because I have done it, like, know that there's no difference between you and me. That means you can do it as well. And I'm here to help you create what might seem like a narrow path and just expand that even bigger so more and more people can come through it.
Yeah. I want to know what it is like being one of the only women in such a male dominated space, and maybe what advice would you have to women who see you in uniform and say, "Wait, I can do that. That's really cool." What advice do you have for them to find success on this path?
Yeah, there's so many things I would want to say, and I do try to mentor as many people as I possibly can, especially young women, but men too. My biggest thing recently that I have been talking about is being authentic as a leader, no matter who you are coming into the military or anywhere you serve. What I mean by that, I am a female, I'm a part of a minority in the military, especially the Marine Corps. I need to walk into that space using the gifts and traits that I have to bring something different and unique to the table to continue to push agenda and initiative forward. That means I'm not going to act like one of the boys because the majority of people around me are boys, because that's inauthentic. It's going to make you exhausted as a person, as a leader. And you're now acting as someone you're not because you think that that's what people need and what they're craving for. And actually, now you're just neglecting people of what makes you unique and what you could be bringing to the table. So, the main thing I would say is, yeah, you might be the only one in the room, but know that you have a place there that you deserved, that you earned, and you offer a unique perspective that needs to be shared and needs to be heard in that space. So come as you are, be authentic as you are, and find your own personal unique leadership style, and that ultimately will gain you respect. I'm not going to say everyone's going to like you, but people will respect you because you come forward, you're predictable, right? People know what they're getting, and you're authentic. And ultimately, if you can show up and be able to possess those traits, I think you'll be successful no matter where you go, but especially when you are a minority in any kind of group of people.
I absolutely love that advice. It's not like, "Hey, I had this characteristic or this personality that made me fit in better with the boys." You're like, "No, I'm just myself. I'm
Yeah.
myself, and people are craving authentic leadership." And that allowed me to find myself in leadership. And that allowed me to bring diverse perspective to the table that's valued. And I think
Yep.
that's amazing. And you spoke a lot about kind of the duality between like, oh, I can be girly, I can win a pageant, and I
Mhm.
can shoot a weapon. So I want to know, how did you become Miss Military? That is so cool.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. I thought I was getting pranked on Instagram. I was like, someone's trying to get me here because I don't wear a lot of makeup. I love being feminine, but I normally am in gym kit and my military uniform. And not that I don't love wearing heels, but I'm like, I'm not about to walk in a bikini and heels and have people judge me. That's
Yeah.
not something that I look forward to, especially as a Christian. So I was like, ain't no way. And they end up saying like, no, actually this pageant revolves around what you're doing for the military and veteran community. Actually, it's something to do with being able to speak on behalf of the veteran or active duty or reservist community, share what you're doing from outreach perspective, how you would continue to want to change things inward to make people's life better. And when that was what they were telling me, like, oh, I don't have to wear a bathing suit and be judged. I need to talk about how I'm working with nonprofits and how I'm volunteering my time in service and how I have some initiatives that I think could really help shift and change the military. And then, oh, by the way, I also do something outside of it, a talent. So bobsled was mine. That makes me unique because I'm not one-sided, one-dimensional. And then I was like, okay, I did not think I was going to win. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. More so because I was then able to show young children that it is possible to be both. And you can be this beautiful, pretty princess while also serving in your military.
Yeah. 100%. I'm curious, what were some of those, the nonprofits and initiatives that you are passionate about? Do you want to share any of those?
Yeah, there's a lot, but I, as a strong Christian, really believe in getting involved with your church. And that here in San Diego, we did a lot of outreach with the homeless community. We worked with a lot of orphanages in Tijuana, um, doing school supplies, and helping out some pregnant women and stuff like that. And then I work with Shield and Stripes, who is a military nonprofit that's working to gain veterans back to full health that has experienced post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a couple others, Team Rubicon, that goes out and helps and hires veterans and stuff like that. So anything to do that touches the military community or space, I'm all about. But also just as a Christian woman, tithing and giving back. So I was able to really hit all these things and showcase why it's so important to give back and not just do things because you expect something in return. Not always can you give money. Sometimes you can just give time, resources, but sometimes you can just be there for people. And that's just as beautiful as well.
100%. I think you've been such a wonderful example, I think, for young girls and athletes in general, athletes, veterans in general. I think mentorship is so important too, giving back to the next generation. We've kind of talked about that a little bit already, but I want to know, have you had any mentors, whether it's been in athletics or in the military, in your military service, that have really been influential in your career?
Yeah, I've had several, and some of them change with what season of life you're in, right? Obviously, there's certain times in the beginning of my career, and I would move for the military to different bases. Sometimes naturally, your mentor kind of just change of like who's with you. And then I've been blessed enough also to have some mentors that I've never actually met in person that I've been able to just call and connect with from different places. But there's been so many, I honestly can't name them all, but I've had so many women step up and say, you know, whether it's through military career and saying, hey, here's what I suggest. I'm a logistics officer just as you, or hey, I'm a female in the Marine Corps. I'm a lieutenant colonel. There's a colonel that just pinned on that I look up to a lot that has helped me and guided me and mentored me. And sometimes that just looks like, hey, I got your back. If you need anything, call me. Yeah. And they mean that.
Yes. Mentorship, that
yeah
piece is so big.
Right. Which sometimes it doesn't even need to be checking in all the time. It just, I'm available if and when you need anything and showing up for them when you do call on them. And then obviously for athletics, I've had a bunch of people, obviously through the bobsled community, right, take me under their wing and teach me, even people from other countries. I have a German athlete that has just gone out of her way to help me out, and it's just incredible because she's not even on the same team, and you could be considered rivals. But yeah, that's what it's about, is fix someone's crown without telling that theirs is messed up, and going out of your way, because you don't have to be the one, you don't have to be the only, and you should hope, I guess, your legacy isn't on the accomplishments that it is, it's on how you have treated people, and the legacy you left behind is how you made them feel and how you have left that place better than you found it.
Yeah. Riley, I only have a couple more questions for you because I know we're coming up on time.
No, you're fine. So
yeah. I'm going to make sure that I respect your evening because I'm so grateful that you were able to join me tonight. But I want to know if our listeners were to take one thing away from this episode, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here with this question, but we've covered so many awesome topics that I just want to know if there's one thing that they took away from this episode, what would it be?
That's so good. Something that I probably haven't talked too much about is our identity, right? I know so much of what you do is working with people shifting. Your identity is not in what you do. And I believe, you know, Jordan, we had this conversation not too long ago. If you were to introduce yourself to other people that have never met you, try introducing yourself without claiming the title of your job. And if you cannot do that, you need to do some soul searching and you need to figure out who you are. And I am trying to help people get on the preventative side of that, because right now a lot of people are like, hey, my life's good, it's great, I'm in the military, I'm competing, I'm an athlete, I have all these things. Well, sometimes it's going to run out. And ultimately, we're most vulnerable in transition. We believe that in the military, and I believe that in just human life. You are the most vulnerable in transition. And what are you doing to get left of bang to that transition point to set yourself up for the best success? And I think that's finding out who your identity is. Yes, I wear a lot of hats, but the number one thing I'll tell you is like, Riley, who are you? The first thing that comes out of my mouth is I'm a child of God. And that is the most important part of me that will never change. And so I'm not telling people everyone has to be a Christian. I highly recommend it. If you have questions, I'm here about it. But ask yourself, who are you? And I also had this conversation with recently. I was talking to an individual who was pondering the same question and was struggling with it. And so he just started writing down, I am a son. I am a friend. I am a homeowner, right? Like little things that might sound small. But then all of a sudden you can start making the more I am statements. And you start realizing there's so much more to you than the job that you do. There's so much more to you than the sport that you play. So allow yourself, if you're listening to this, whether you're in transition or you're anticipating a transition or you're not, it's coming, I promise you. How are you setting yourself up the best success mentally, physically, and emotionally to prepare yourself so your world doesn't break down when that one thing that you think your world revolves around is taken away from you?
Yeah. I wish I had that talk when I was going through my transition because I could not agree anymore. Like it is such a vulnerable time. And I think
Hmm.
that's amazing advice because it will come someday, whether we like it or not. And we have to
Yeah.
know who we are outside of the uniform.
Hmm.
100%. Last question for you, Riley. It's also kind of a big one. But in for the namesake of the show, changing the game, I just want to know what changing the game means to you personally or professionally, however you want to take that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Changing the game for me means you made an impact that you left it somehow better than you found it. Whether that's through being able to professionally change legislature or rules or anything like that, right? To create more inclusivity to other people. Or whether that's changing it by being a light and being there and smiling and encouraging and cheering on other people. I don't think one is better than the other. I think as long as you see somewhere that you belong, knowing that you're there for a bigger purpose and a bigger calling, how can you make the most amount of impact while you are there to leave it better than you found it? So, regardless of whether when you came, something has changed because you were there. And if you're able to do that, then you have changed the game, you have changed the players, you have changed the algorithm or the rules or the feelings or the processes of people. And one small change can be the catalyst of making the biggest difference. And if we want to continue to have a world where our game, where our sport, or our career is only going to continue to be a better place for our children, we need to continue to make a positive impact that we are leaving whatever space of the game better than we found it.
Riley, thank you so much. This was such a wonderful episode. You have such an amazing legacy that you are leaving for the next generation. Where can our listeners connect with you? I know you have quite the Instagram following. So can they follow you and where should they find you?
Yeah, please follow me on Instagram. There's only one Instagram account, riley.tjack. You can find me there. Or LinkedIn, because I decided I needed to adult. I'm 28. So I now have a LinkedIn, and I actually love LinkedIn, Loki. So you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. And if you're interested in purchasing my book, you're able to find that on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or if you want a personal signed copy like Jordan, you can reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure I get that sent over to you.
Yes, I am so excited to get that to my nieces and nephew. I've got 2 copies of the book. So, yes, big proponent by the book. Thank you so much, Riley, for coming on today and sharing your story with us. This was so wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I will catch you all next time.